I think I'm gonna talk to you about your personal life if you're interested in that. Okay, let me see. We've got this, this, and this. Okay, this just came through really strongly. Skin. I'm saying skin. I'm referencing to what looks like melanoma. I'm getting a reference to 3 separate situations that I view as being like problemed areas. You have a susceptibility on your back, and there's a susceptibility on your leg, and I need you to keep both in mind. This is huge.
I've had melanoma on my back.
Really? Okay.
But never on my leg, so where else?
And then there's one in a... God, I wrote this. One in a little bit more of a private area.
Okay.
All right?
Got it.
We're good.
Got it.
All right, so... Yep, so... Oh, geez. Did not think this was how I was gonna start my Tuesday, but...
I am susceptible to skin cancer. I've had it twice before, but everything's fine, and I get checked every 3 months. I actually like thrive off information so I can do something about it.
Now, obviously, you're a very public figure. So for me, my goal in doing readings is to always get information that there's no way I could know. So the goal in doing this is just to get specifics, and that's really what I'm gonna try. So at this point, you know, if you have any questions about your personal life, we can try to look into that.
What about health?
Health? Yeah, sure.
Why not?
Keep in mind, when it comes to your eyesight, like there's a random decrease in vision. So if you notice any changes along those lines, like go to a doctor and get that checked before it would ever become an issue.
No, that's so crazy though, because my vision has been really weird lately.
Interesting.
But really weird.
Yeah.
And I haven't told anybody that.
For sure.
Nobody knows about my eyesight.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. You should be a doctor. You really, I don't need to go to the doctor now. I'm good. The older I get, the more interested I am in medical. But I'm like, what? Nobody else would know, especially about the eyes. And that's what blew my mind, truly.
So what they're having me reference to is an acknowledgement of a stroke, but there's 2 stroke messages. One is a stroke that an individual suffers and then passes away. Other is an incident in which an individual has a close call involving a stroke or something like a stroke, and they actually live and survive through this. The feeling is getting this, knowing that we're perfectly fine, and there's basically a thumbs up of like, this person's not going to have to worry about this issue again. I'm seeing kind of a susceptibility of almost what looks like blood clots, and that's something for me that looks preventable and avoidable, but this individual would have that susceptibility who also would have had this previous susceptibility to like a stroke-like incident.
That would be me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a stroke September 23rd of 2015.
15, yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm so sorry.
From a blood clot. I was flying from LA back home to Atlanta from Dancing with the Stars.
Oh my God, I'm
And I had a
so
stroke.
sorry.
I was just normal. I went down to hug my son as soon as I pulled in my driveway, and then my hand started to go numb, but it was like numb times a gazillion, you know, like not the normal, like, shake it off. And I was like, oh, and then when I couldn't speak and I was trying to, was when it's so scary. Yeah, the stroke was life-changing, literally. Like, never thought at 37 I would have a stroke. And in front of my children, nonetheless. I've pretty much fully recovered, but I can't say that I don't think, like, could this happen again? My Uncle Rusty, my mom's brother, he died walking on or running on a treadmill, just dropped dead. And then my doctors wanted the autopsy to see what caused it. So it showed coronary artery disease. So they're gonna do a test to see if there is any kind of blockage in my heart, just to, for precautionary.
Yeah, no, I think you're gonna be all right. Yeah. I'm sure that's a very sensitive, scary issue, you know, especially when something happens out of nowhere like that. I think when he came through, the biggest acknowledgement was really just to talk about that ultimately you would be fine.
The message that I really wanted today was from my Uncle Rusty, like, everything's fine. That was really what I wanted to know.
Her having a stroke was a very difficult experience. We've done everything, you know, we possibly can to get answers. So to have Tyler address it and bring it up and say, you know, hey, you're good, I got the thumbs up. You
That's
know,
pretty nuts.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely a relief.
When it comes to like a family and a gene perspective, it's possible that within your family there might be multiple men who end up at a later age dealing with blood pressure issues, but also deal with either a heart murmur or heart arrhythmia. But I feel like I have to kind of go to heart, and this kind of correlates with blood pressure. So just kind of keep that in mind. I have a couple people who've, you know, kind of came through and acknowledged passing in a bit of a similar sense, and it's almost saying like, keep in mind your own heart, because there's a man who was very stubborn who passed away, and he acknowledges dying as a result of this heart problem. His message is, don't be stubborn like I was. And the feeling is like, this is a strong guy, he's great, he's lovely, but he was really frustrated at the fact that he neglected this, because this is something that could have been treatable had we just known about it. I'm not wanting to go, and there's just a feeling of like, don't let you be me, basically, in the way this comes across. It's like, keep this in mind, be proactive in your health, do what I didn't, is kind of the message, so.
No history of heart disease.
Sure.
In the family.
Sure.
With the exception of my sister, had a heart issue, had open heart surgery. Delighted that she's fine now.
Great.
But it can't get much more serious than that.
Sure.
Just not a genetic line that we've known.
Right. Interesting. Okay.
That is unbelievable. You said the heart.
Right. And how that came through.
And we talked about it.
Right. I would say, honestly, if this is something that does come into play, it could affect men primarily. I'm not even looking at women so much. This is something that could affect men. So if you yourself notice like blood pressure or heart murmur, just see a doctor. But I feel almost like we have to kind of like really take this into consideration. I was really going on about that.
Yeah, you were.
Thank you, Dr. Henry. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that to heart.
I'm gonna talk about your diet, and they're just having me acknowledge like metabolism, making sure your blood sugar is good. So like making sure you're eating like at appropriate times and not like waiting, you know, to eat. And for some reason, I feel like that's important. So
that's huge. I have a serious sugar addiction.
I feel you. I gotcha.
It's really good. And when I'm filming, I never eat.
Yeah.
I never eat. I'll go hours and hours and hours. You know, I tend to just, you know, focus on the work. For sure. Just get lightheaded or eat too much coffee.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling.
Right?
Right. Absolutely. But it just was basically a matter of like making sure diet's consistent. So if we're having sugar, for example, like having it spread out throughout the day and not
moderation.
Just constantly. You know.
The sugar thing, yeah, that's without a doubt. I do. I have a thing, and my wife, she's saying, "God, you gotta stop. You gotta quit the sugar. You gotta quit the sugar." And I'm trying. So thank you, Tyler, for telling me, get off the sugar, dude. That was really trippy. Yeah, he nailed that, for sure.
So in what I do for a living, there are risks to other people.
Right, okay.
Do you see any of those things being a problem in the next year or so?
Let's look. Do you have anyone in the medical field in your family?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know of anyone in the medical field, corrective? Is someone going to go through corrective surgery? No, but this
Yes.
is going to be...
Yeah, so I'm a surgeon.
Oh!
And I correct mistakes that have resulted from surgery. That's what I do. That's very good.
That's just what comes through.
Right.
So I'm referencing to basically someone who would have an open wound, and I'm saying necrotic tissue with breasts in some form of either bad, you know, like awful plastic surgery.
From what I did?
No, but from what was done. When this happens, because this particular case has yet to happen, when it does, really kind of assess whether you can really do it or not, because it's really extreme. There's a lot of scar tissue. It looks like this would be very difficult to even stretch. Like, it's kind of a weird thing. It just doesn't feel like this could work. So that's good to keep in mind, but...
So you're saying don't do it?
I would say don't do it when you're faced with this particular case.
You mean this Tuesday's case I shouldn't be doing?
Oh, God, okay.
That's this Tuesday's case?
Yes. It's a very high-risk breast problem with skin that was damaged as a result of infection and skin death.
Is it an open wound?
It was an open wound.
Okay. It's not a guaranteed failure. It's not a guaranteed failure, it's just the odds are kind of against you, is what I would say.
He's going to call you and say, I told you so.
Right.
I will tell you, the surgery's so difficult, the odds are always against us.
Sure, I bet. There's still hope, but there is reference to 2 additional surgeries, so that might not be a bad thing. It could mean that one gets done and then we need another.
Cancel the case.
Yeah.
Tyler's intuition is so accurate, and I know he's got such a really strong medical intuition ability that maybe I'll put him in a pair of scrubs, a gown, and a mask and bring him in the operating room.
So weirdly, I have a couple different energies. I have a man that's coming through who's initially acknowledging that he does feel like he lived a relatively decent long period of a life. However, he's acknowledging the fact that he didn't feel like he got to get to like 70s, 80s. I feel like I passed away quick. I do feel like I passed abruptly. And then there is a reference. I would check to see who passed away of a heart attack. So check and see if you guys have any uncles, any people who would be like an uncle level who would have like suffered from a heart attack and passed away abruptly. Check and see on that side also if there's a V name. There's a reference to a V name in family.
V.
V. Yeah, which is interesting. It's like V is not a very common initial.
It's not.
So there's a reference to either like Vince, Vic, some form of like very strong V connection.
Wait.
Where's that?
Uncle Vince.
Who's Vince?
He was my mom's side of the family. I think he was dad's side of the family.
Dad's side of the family?
Dad's side of the family.
Yes.
Uncle Vince.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, wait. Okay, now I'm starting to get it. My dad has told me that I resemble one of his uncles, and I think it was Uncle Vince, and he's always been a little worried about me because Uncle Vince passed away all of a sudden in the middle of nowhere from a heart attack.
Right.
And it was pretty early. I think it was in his early 40s, I want to say.
For sure. That would fit kind of what's coming through. They didn't feel like they got to 60 or 70 even.
Right,
So,
no,
yeah.
he was definitely in his 40s, and I know my dad has always told me to be very cautious. He thinks my body type is exactly like his.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing that you say that. It's the weirdest thing that you say that because I swear to God on the car ride here, I said that I had the man who was coming through with the heart issue, and he was warning the living client that I would meet with about heart disease in his future.
Wow. You gotta stop smoking.
That's insane.
I gotta stop
So,
smoking. Oh,
definitely
man.
good to keep it in mind. I don't see you going anywhere. I see your health being fine,
good.
but definitely keep in mind heart.
My dad is always like, you remind me so much of my Uncle Vince that you didn't get to meet. He says, so please be very, very careful of your heart.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Interesting.
I didn't even think it from my dad's side.
Yeah.
That's probably what it is.
Awesome. Now, obviously, when people go into these experiences, they want certain things. And I really just kind of go where I'm naturally led.
Okay, yeah. I don't have any preset ideas of where this should go. I feel like it's a gift. It's an opportunity just to really let someone do what they do best.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh. Just gotta keep in mind, there will be having me talk about the next 8 months, and then having me talk about family coming together, but in a well, in more of a, it's always hard to say. Someone might pass away in the next 8 months.
Oh, shit.
Let me see what this is. That is. Okay. There, we talk about like a passing and someone passing away and like people needing to like be around and come around and like not resolve. There's something along those lines that just bringing me to that. And that's coming in.
Yeah, that's something there. My dad, who is very ill. It's really difficult now because I know he can hear me. I know when I'm in his presence, he's glad I'm there. But it's difficult for him to communicate. He can't really speak in words the way he wants to anymore. So, I want him to know that I love him and that I know he was the best dad he could possibly be based on, the parenting he got. I have some unresolved stuff with my dad. My dad maybe wasn't there for some of my stuff. He didn't teach me certain skills. So I got to acknowledge that with his health, that does bring up the thought and the concern. I think I just we need to resolve some things. And I don't know how to do that. I need to figure that out.
As long as you're able to have that peace with your dad in life, even if he's not able to necessarily communicate in the way that maybe he'd like to, as long as you know you've said everything and gotten that out.
I took that in, and I'm grateful that he did step into it. It's not always easy to hear, but it gives me a runway of time. I don't think people all the time get a heads up like that.